All right, welcome everyone to the WorkGrind episode 2, part 2. My name is Vaughn Gathings and I am your host. Today's episode will be called The Long Tail Strikes Back, looking at the cons of disruptive technology in the long tail. And we're going to talk a little bit about um, the second part of the long tail. So um, just follow along and you'll get what I'm talking about. So last edition, we talked about what the long tail was, and you can find that last edition on my YouTube page because I don't want to go deep into what it is. I want you to watch the episode before this one, but I also want you to to view it. So I want this to be very short. I want this to be a concise episode because I just want this to complement my last video. So this is going to be very quick. But if you want to know what the long tail is in depth, please watch my first video on it called Our Friend Technology. Um, how the long tail makes creativity easier. So we explained what the long tail was, but we also talked about some of the steps and some of the pros of the long tail. So what was step one in the long tail? So the long tail is when production costs are shrinking, more business can be created, and it can disrupt. So what do I mean by that? If I wanted to, if I wanted to create 10 years ago, if I wanted to create 20 years ago, if I want to start a business or do whatever, I don't need the same tools anymore. I have tools within technology that makes things much more easier, and it can disrupt long-standing and stronger companies. So I can make that food truck and park it right outside of McDonald's and sell the same things probably for cheaper with better quality, and I can put a dent in the local McDonald's in my area. I can we have those online bookstores. I can sell my books online. I can write them, distribute, publish them through Amazon, and sell them right online instead of going to a big bookstore. So we don't need those same tools to create anymore. So step two, everybody can distribute. So you have media in the palm of your hands. You have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have YouTube, you have everything possible to be your own marketer, your own advertiser, your own publicist. Whatever you can do to reach, to get yourself the publicity you need, you can do it. Yes, it's going to be some strategies on how to do it, and there's plenty of books on that. There's plenty of people you can consult with on that. But you see these people with big brands with just from social media following. This it's the new wave. It's how we embrace things. So everyone can distribute. Everyone can reach others. And step three, new markets are revealed every day thanks to niche creation. So because we have those ways to communicate, those ways to market, and those ways to advertise, we can find a new niche based audience. So for example, if I'm looking for if I'm looking for a certain type of music, or if I'm trying to create a certain type of music, say I'm creating hip hop, I no longer have to go through and hope a radio can play my song just to reach somebody. It'd be great if they do, but I can go to SoundCloud, put some hashtags in, and say, hey, I'm looking for a Japanese hip hop audience, hip hop in the UK, Southern trap music, whatever I want to do, and however I can find those niche based audience. So everything's easier, and that's what the long tail is all about. It's about um usually things that are in low demand and low performing products competing with high performing products. So that's what the long tail is about. And again, if you want to know more in depth, watch my last video and I talk about it. But today's edition, we talk about the cons of the long tail, the cons of when we have this technology that's working for us, when these low performing products clash with these high performing products and they're competing with one another. We have some cons to that, and some of the things we're going to talk about is buffs and bores, how the blockbuster will never die, and how it will hurt the critical reception of smaller products and brands, and the displacement of workers. And we'll be very quick talking about those things. So not a long episode, but hopefully it keeps you entertained. So buffs and bores. So in 1960, a sociologist named William McFee stated that there are two type of customers: those who flock to blockbusters and those who don't like blockbusters. So very simple. Of course, there's people who like mainstream things, pop culture things, and there's people who like underground things, things that aren't so popular that cater to a certain type of interest. So we have bores and buffs. So this is all from William McFee. Um, Boards are likely to purchase blockbusters and more popular items. So one example is brand loyalty. So if you ever heard of brand loyalty, the definition of brand loyalty is when you see a brand, it's recognizable, you cater to it. So when you think of coffee, you think of Starbucks, you think of coffee. You think of hamburgers, you think of McDonald's, and you flock to those things like subconsciously because they have these really strong brands. They're very popular. So that's what we mean by a board. So they're gonna purchase blockbuster items, as what they called it in the book, The Long Tail, and more popular items. But we have people that are called buffs that are open-minded. They like rare and less popular items. So they like blockbusters, but they like underground things as well. So they like those books that they might just like to purchase books from independent authors, music from independent underground people, video games that are independent, that are probably sold from a publisher that's not really popular. So they're more open minded, and they're more likely to give people a chance versus boards who just like to purchase the more popular items because of brand loyalty. So that's what we mean by the blockbuster will never die. So as long as you have boards, there's always going to be somebody that's purchasing a blockbuster. So you know, as much as we have people that are doing this disruptive technology, disruptive innovation, disruptive creativity, there's always going to be those big brands. There's always going to be a Nike. There's always going to be um Apple. There's always going to be all these different big brands. It's going to be hard to create because they have the big backing behind it. They have the money. They have the marketing. They have the advertising. They have whatever it takes. It's going to make them a strong brand. So it's hard to get them away. You can put a dent in it, but it's hard to beat them. So like for example, you have a company like Amazon. Amazon's doing everything. You're not gonna like take them out. You might do something to disrupt one of their products and one of their audiences they're catering to, but it's hard to take them out. And critics will always favor those blockbuster items over the smaller, less popular items because they're more seen, they're popular, they're more trendy, they're more accessible versus the small product items that might not get the promotion, the exposure they need. So the critics will always favor the blockbuster, I should say. So that's just how it is. It's just unfortunate. So we're not telling people not to create, but keep in mind that there's some brands that are going to be so strong that you're not going to be able to take them out. Um. So lastly, we're going to talk a little about the displacement of workers. So when we talk about how we have technologies that can help us create more products that compete with products that are already existing, organizations and brand that are already existing. So, you like I said, you're making that food truck for fat for that's competing with the local McDonald's or the local Wendy's in the fast food market. You're releasing that book that's competing with the bestseller in the book industry. So because of that, that's great. But we know technology, disruptive innovation, all these things, they took out a lot of workers. And starting in 2008, that was a big thing. The financial crisis, a lot of jobs were lost, but many of those jobs never came back. So there was this stretch, and I know we all remember this: 2008, 2009, early 2010. There were like massive layoffs everywhere. You would just look on the news and you will see 33,000 people laid off here, 40,000 people laid off here. And a lot of those jobs, they never ever came back. Many of those jobs were condensed and morphed into technology jobs. And when I say those jobs that were condensed, those were hard labor jobs. So a lot of those jobs you needed to use your hands in manufacturing, those are the ones that never came back. And if they did come back, they probably came back as a tech job. Then you have whole business organizations did not return as well. So um, there were businesses that they just didn't come back because of technology. They weren't needed anymore. But Blockbuster was beat out by Netflix and Hulu. Like when Netflix got on the rise, when iTunes got on the rise, and these companies I named like Netflix and Hulu, those are just like some few of the companies. There are many companies that beat out Blockbuster. It wasn't needed anymore. Netflix is here. What do I need to go to Blockbuster for? Hulu is here. I can watch a movie right here. Even worse, I got Google, I got Amazon Video, I have YouTube. I don't need to go to a Blockbuster. I can do everything on my phone, on my Xbox, on my laptop, on my tablet. That's just how things operate. Barnes and Noble, I'm sorry, Borders, the bookstore Borders, they were taken out. They were replaced by Google Books, Amazon, the Kindle, the Nook, Barnes and Noble. They do online ebook shopping. eBay does ebook shopping. I don't need to a Borders. I just don't need it, especially when Barnes and Noble is just like the one stop shop for sitting in reading a book now. Like Barnes Noble, they're like that organization for that. Amazon's trying to compete with them. So I don't need a Borders. I just don't need it. When I can go Barnes Nobles, get my magazines, get my coffee, and get that new book, or I could just stay at home and just get the new book through Google or Amazon, however I want to do it. And nowadays, the Uber and the Lyft competes with the taxi business. I'm just sorry, like taxis, they're under fire because Uber and Lyft. All I need is a registration. All I need is insurance, and I am a Uber driver. Money comes electronically. What we need taxis for? So slowly and surely, yeah, taxis are very safe. They still have value because they got the cameras. They got they're safer. I would say that about taxi. You see a taxi, it's safe. It's much more safer than an Uber driver. Let's not act like there isn't any creepy Uber drivers. So we hear stories about that all the time, and Uber riders. Some people that get a little creepy, touchy feely, and things like that. So what do I need taxis for? I slowly can see less value in using a taxi. And then you have things like Airbnb. So we talk about this gig economy thing like Uber, Lyft, and Airbnb. I don't. like I'm not gonna say you don't need hotels, because hotels, those things are needed. Say someone's flying in, someone's going to a conference, a celebrity's coming. You want a hotel. Hotels aren't going anywhere. But if you're just going somewhere, you want to stay in LA for the weekend, you want to stay in New Orleans, and you want to stay in Dallas, I can Airbnb, and I don't have to pay the same price as that luxury hotel. I can be in a certain area and pay half the price. So if I want to go to downtown LA, probably can do an Airbnb, and I don't have to go to a hotel. I can pay half of that because I know that area is high. So basically, the long tail has its I guess its shortcomings, its cons, and it's not perfect. When we talk about disruptive technology, disruptive innovation, it isn't perfect, and it took out a lot of workers. Of course, the economy is getting better. Jobs are coming back, but they're coming back looking much more different than they were. So everything good isn't gold all the time. I guess I can leave it at that. But that's all for this episode. My name is Von Gathings. I didn't want to hold you long. Please contact me on Twitter, Instagram at Von Gathings, my LinkedIn. Um, please look out too, because I've been making like little memes that just talk about some of the things I talk about in the video. So look out for those. I've been getting good views on Instagram and LinkedIn. I've been very proud of myself for that. That's just something I'm doing now, because I know people don't have time to watch the videos. I just know they don't, but I still post them. So if you can, watch out for those memes. I like the fact that I get 70, 80 likes for some of those memes. And on LinkedIn I get 250 views for some of them. So it's very easy to just look at that meme, read it, get what you need to know, learn something real quick, fast learning. So look out for those. Follow me, share, do whatever you can, but please, please, please continue to follow what I'm doing. So I'm trying to do great things, and I don't have an episode titled yet, but I do have something in mind, because I change my episodes titles all the time. So keep in mind that there's a lot of great things going on, and I can talk about those things, because election. I mean, we talked about the inauguration. There's so much needs to be talked about there. President Obama leaving office. You got Dr. King Day. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about trendy, um, trendy events going on versus the educational thingies. I'm still be posting those, but a lot of more trendy events. So I hope you're enjoying your new year. Hope it's getting off to a great start. And keep in touch. And I will talk to you next week. Goodbye.